Balake, where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is right here, everyone, with the incorrect layout. Here we are. Welcome back, everyone, for a little bit more SPTV, where every day is a great day not to be in a cult. Well, guys, we are revisiting the subject of people who submitted letters defending the character of Danny Masterson, and not just begging the judge for leniency for the sake of Danny's daughter or something, but submitting letters basically calling into question, basically saying, we don't believe the Jane Does. That's not the Danny Masterson I know. The Danny Masterson I know would never do something like that. So the people we're talking about today is two retired New York firefighters who have connections to Scientology. And unfortunately, one of these firefighters, I'm guessing, may not even know that a letter was submitted on his behalf. So the first firefighter that we're talking about is Patrick McGreen. Now, this is a photo of Patrick McGreen from an event at the Scientology Celebrity Center International. You can see him here with Danny Masterson. You can see him here with Wilmer. This was, you guys might remember that in the wake of 9/11, Tom Cruise uses as an opportunity to peddle Scientology propaganda to the rescue workers who worked at Ground Zero. And Tom Cruise funded a program called the New York Rescue Workers Detoxification Project. This is a Tom Cruise funded Scientology program. Because this was a Tom Cruise backed program, all the Scientology celebrities were ordered to donate to this thing. And that is why you see these events being held with firefighters at the Scientology Celebrity Center. It's almost like it's a Scientology program. And that it most certainly was. Let me see. I'm getting my screen share. Oh, Michael Pena, another Scientologist. Here's Danny being presented with an award. By the way, Leah Remini was presented with the same award. And on the subject of Tom Cruise, it's interesting. You know, there are certain celebrities who are publicly and very energetically advocating for continued funding for the healthcare needs of the rescue workers who worked at Ground Zero. Do you know who's not one of those celebrities? Tom Cruise. It's almost like Tom Cruise doesn't really care about the rescue workers unless it has something to do with a Scientology-backed recruitment program. Jon Stewart and Steve Buscemi are the faces that most people are familiar with who are publicly advocating for the funding needed to take care of the medical expenses of the people who worked at Ground Zero. No Tom Cruise. It's almost like the only reason he cared in the first place was because he figured out how to, stick Scientology into the equation. Okay, so let's take a look at this. This is a letter from the desk of Patrick McGreen. Let's just take a look at it. July 25th, 2023, Lieutenant Patrick McGreen, FDNY. The Honorable Judge Olmeda. Oh, you might want to start by spelling the judge's name correctly. That would be a good place to begin. I'm a retired lieutenant, FDNY. I've known Danny. I have known Danny right after 9/11. He helped many colleagues. I'm reading this exactly as written, you guys. I'm a retired lieutenant, FDNY. I have known Danny right after 9/11. He helped many colleagues to help recover from the damages from breathing in the toxic fumes when the towers collapsed. I worked close with him at many fundraisers. 2 words. He organized, donated, and put in his time and money, and I was a speaker at these fundraisers. I met Danny's mother, Carol, and father, Peter, separately at different events, and I liked them because they are supportive and are good New Yorkers as I see it. I met his brothers in Florida and California and went to see a Broadway show with his mother, Carol, when my daughter was auditioning for Broadway herself. When I met Danny, he was not married yet. We would talk in length after these events, and I got to know him better than most. After he was married, I was a key speaker in Hollywood, and I met his wife, Bijou. He is very happy with her, and I saw what a husband he is. I am awareness that Danny has been convicted of 2 counts of forcible rape and that he is facing an extremely lengthy prison sentence, i.e. a potential sentence of 30 years to life. In my opinion, this doesn't sound anything like the Danny I have known. Danny's shown integrity, honesty, dependability, and he is a hard worker. I have seen it in person. Danny been there for me and my family when I was sick and needed help. And firemen are not ones to ask for help. We are used to helping others in a time of need. So I don't know. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on something like this. I feel bad for any of the rescue workers who have suffered ill effects from their time spent working at Ground Zero. But, just because a celebrity donated some money to a Scientology program that Tom Cruise was using as like a vanity project, if someone came to me 20 plus years later and said, "Hey, we got this guy. He's been convicted of violently raping multiple women. Would you be willing to write a letter to the judge saying what a great guy he is?" I would probably be like, maybe the fact that he donated some money to a program I was involved with, or the fact that I went to go see a play with his mom, maybe that doesn't warrant me vouching for the character of someone who's violently raped multiple women. That's just me, you guys. I don't know, to each his own. Okay, now there is another letter that was submitted from retired New York firefighter Gavin McCutchen. Now, this one is a little bit more sinister because this letter's from 2008. And when I say sinister, I mean, how do we know Gavin even knows that his good name has been sullied by submitting a letter from over a decade ago to the court, said letter being made public? Okay, let's take a look at this. Again, this is not, we have no idea that Gavin McCutchen, we have no idea if Gavin McCutchen knows this letter was submitted to the court. January 24th, 2008. Dear Danny. Dear Danny. See, it's directly to Danny. It's not even to the court. So let's see. My name is Gavin McCutchen. I'm a recently retired captain in the New York City Fire Department. I was off duty on 9/11 and responded to Ground Zero from my home in Queens. I arrived as the second tower collapsed. I was down there for 2 days straight and many months afterwards looking for survivors at first and then looking to recover the remains of many of my friends and colleagues who were killed that horrible day. Subsequently, I became very sick from breathing in the toxic air that was emanating from Ground Zero. I was hospitalized on numerous occasions because of my difficulty breathing and also because the oxygen level in my blood would drop. I heard about the New York Detox project through a fellow firefighter who had successfully completed the program. He raved about how great it worked. I completed the program and felt absolutely terrific. The staff was amazing. They treated me and all the patients in the program with respect and compassion. They were so helpful and kind. I can't say enough about the staff. This program would not be possible if it were not for you and people like you. I would like to thank you for your kind support and generosity. You've made such a positive impact on my life, and I will be forever grateful. I have absolutely no idea why such a letter would be submitted to the court in defense of Danny Masterson. And if anybody happens to know Gavin McCutchen, if you're out there, if you're watching, if this letter was submitted to the court without your knowledge, I'd like you to be aware that that's what was done. This detox program was really just Scientology's purification rundown. Any Scientologist, pretty much any Scientologist who has ever existed, one of the first things they do in Scientology is called the purification rundown. It's just a sauna sweat out program that L. Ron Hubbard says, without any actual, backing, no research backing this, that when you take drugs or the toxins that are in the environment, the toxins that are in the food, these toxins, the residue stores in the body fat, in the fat of your body, in your fat cells. And that by drinking oil and eating lecithin and taking vitamins and doing about 10 minutes of light cardio and then spending 5 hours in a sauna, up to 5 hours a day in a sauna every day, that you replace that the toxins flush out of the fat cells, but you have to be drinking the oil and eating the lecithin so that your body is getting enough fat to let go of the fat deposits, the fat that has the drug deposits in it. It's total horseshit. Now, and many Scientologists do the purification rundown 3, 4, 5 times. I only did it once, and I didn't even. I'm like kind of an exception. I didn't do it until much later on in my Scientology career, if you will. And It's one of these placebo effect things. In my personal opinion, the purification has one of these placebo effect things where you're being told this is going to be great for you. You're doing something you're not used to doing, which for many people is 10 or 15 minutes of cardio every day, and taking some vitamins, and you're sweating out a lot of stuff. You're drinking a lot of water. I think after a few weeks, a lot of people just start to feel a little better, feel more alert, sleep better. But Scientologists believe that this is the only way to get rid of toxicity that's stored in your body. There's no research to back this up of any kind whatsoever. So Tom Cruise saw this as a great opportunity to have a PR caper for Scientology and introduce a bunch of people who were desperately in need of help to the good works and the good name of L. Ron Hubbard. And David Miscavige ordered all celebrities to support this thing, not just because it was a Scientology thing, but because it was a Tom Cruise thing. This was a Tom Cruise vanity project. Now, the guy who Tom Cruise put in charge of this project was a guy named Jim Woodworth. Well, it just so happens, Woodworth, yeah. It just so happens that Jim Woodworth also submitted a letter in support of Danny Masterson, and I would like to share that with you. James Woodworth, Honorable Judge Almeida. Well, at least he spelled her last name correctly. My name is James Woodworth, and I've been a close personal friend of Danny Masterson and his family for the past 20 plus years. My heart breaks knowing that Danny is facing the possibility of spending the next 30 years to life in prison for forcible rape. The tragedy of September 11th, 2001 is the only reason I came to know Mr. Masterson. Now, that's an interesting statement. 9/11 is the only reason I came to know Mr. Masterson. Jim seems to be pretending like he has not been a Scientologist for many, many decades. I know his kids. I was in the Sea organization with his daughter. And why has he got to lie in the letter? And if he's not lying, what it would mean is that as a Scientologist, he had absolutely no idea who Danny Masterson was, which would be a pretty interesting thing to consider in its own right. Okay, anyway. All right. The tragedy of 4 years in the Air Force as a medic, where I worked general surgery, orthopedic surgery, ran the labor and delivery unit, and oncology. After my service, I moved to Sacramento in 1983, and a few years later, I ran Sacramento Occupational Medical Group, a large occupational medicine practice, the Sacramento Occupational Medical Group, and a medically supervised detoxification program called HealthMed. The detox clinic treated drug addicts and chemically exposed workers who had become sick from work-related toxic exposures. In the early 90s, I started my first charity, the purpose of which was to support research and provide free medical detox to Gulf War veterans who had become ill after being exposed to toxic smoke from the oil fires in Iraq. On the morning of 9/11, shortly after the first tower collapsed, I decided to move from Sacramento to New York City and open a new division of my nonprofit. Knowing that the first responders and volunteers would become ill from the toxic smoke and dust, I started the New York Rescue Workers Detoxification Project. That's interesting because I believe Scientologists would tell you that Tom Cruise started the New York Rescue Workers Detoxification Project, but okay, maybe Jim says he started it, fine. From September 2002 through December 2009, we treated over 1,000 New York City firefighters, police officers, active duty military, ministers, rabbis, construction workers, lead and asbestos removal workers, All right. More than 400 New York City firefighters who wanted to return to work but were being forced to medically retire due to their 9/11 related lung damage were able to return to full duty and not retire. Without Danny's help, this never would have been possible. I'm sorry, it says this would never have been possible. Really? Okay. Back in the fall of 2003, while living in New York City and running my newly found charity, I had the pleasure of meeting Danny, who had volunteered to attend a fundraiser with more than 500 people. He and his castmates were amazing and helped raise nearly $1 million for firefighters. From that night on, Danny and I became friends, and I now consider him as part of my family. Danny chaired or co-chaired 5 fundraising events that raised nearly $2 million for the charity. He would spend weeks prior to each event making sure we could reach our fundraising targets. Danny would take time to personally meet, take photos, and talk with every rescue worker, and they really appreciated the time he took to listen to their stories and talk with their family members. Rescue workers would often tell me, he's so down to earth. He really cares. You cannot put a price on the hundreds of hours each year that Dana dedicated to the rescue workers and our charity. Our families have vacationed together and spent time in each other's homes and workplaces. Danny has always been consistently kind, respectful, honest, trustworthy, and patient with everyone in private and public. He's been there for me, my family, my charity, and for that I am truly grateful. He's improved my life and the lives of many others. It's been a pleasure watching him grow from a very good young man and become a loving husband and father. Without a doubt, the most important thing to Danny is his wife, his daughter, and his family. He's an incredible provider who loves his family and takes care of his kids. When Bijou was confronted with some very serious and long-term health issues, he really stepped up to the plate and acted without a single complaint or concern for himself, concern for himself ever. Well, I mean, Bijou is his wife, right? So, okay. It is my hope that Danny's 2 decades of helping thousands of others across the country be taken into consideration. Wow. I got to tell you, at least Jim's letter is the first letter that didn't actually sound like it was trying to question the credibility of the Jane Does. I will give that to Jim. I find it very interesting that he doesn't once mention Scientology in any way, shape, or form. Now, guys, real quick, if you look up, if you look into Jim Woodworth, you will find, and I'm reading from an article, I'm just not screen sharing it right now. This article says, we looked for Jim Woodworth today, and we found that he's in Louisiana, where he is the CEO of a company called Mold Zero Baton Rouge, an environmental cleanup franchise that was originally founded by, wait for it, Danny Masterson's stepfather, Robert Rusty Tweed, who the SEC banned for life from trading securities in 2017 after accusing Rusty of running a Ponzi scheme. Oh my God, you cannot make this up. Oh my God. Oh my God. So this guy, Jim Woodworth, who seems to be like an accomplished, world-renowned medical person who runs nonprofits and charities and helps all these people, he's now running a mold remediation company franchise in Louisiana. Nothing wrong with that. I just wonder why he fell from grace. Also, I want to read you guys an excerpt about the New York Rescue Detox Program from the Wikipedia article on the subject. It says, neither the police nor the fire department officially supported the project. The Uniformed Firefighters Association initially supported it, but withdrew the support when the connection to the Church of Scientology was revealed. Firefighter Union President Patrick McGreen said his members' lives had benefited from the program and that it had involved no religious rhetoric. Deputy Fire Commissioner Frank Gribben of the FDNY told the New York Times, while we are aware some members of the department have availed themselves of the program, we in no way endorse it. Officials at the department raised concerns that firefighters were giving up existing medications in order to take part. The department's Deputy Chief Medical Officer, Dr. David Present, said, it is not our job to say you can't go. All we can do is say there's no proven evidence that it works. And it also says actress and radio show host Janine Garofalo drew criticism by allowing actress Leah Remini, who was then a Scientologist, to promote the project on her Air America radio show. And some other notes that I have here is that, yeah, some of one of the main problems with this program is that because it's a Scientology program, Scientology doesn't allow anyone participating in its programs to be on any kind of psychiatric medications or antidepressants or SSRIs. And so firefighters were taking people off of their prescribed medications. And some of these people ended up joining Scientology and disconnecting from their families. So the whole thing was kind of a shit show, but for a while it was what Scientologists, celebrity Scientologists who were in trouble could very quickly get through their amends projects and get back into the good graces of Scientology by financially supporting and publicly supporting this program that Tom Cruise had put his name and face on. That's one of the reasons there was so much support in the Scientology community for this thing. By the way, if there's any of you out there who have yourselves gone through this program, not Scientology's Purification Rundown, but the New York Rescue Workers, let's see, the official name of this thing is the New York Rescue Workers Detoxification Project. If there's any of you out there who actually were involved with that project or went through that project and want to talk to me about it privately or publicly, please reach out to me at growingupinscientology@gmail.com. And apparently these awards that were being given out were specifically created just for this project, and that the people who created these awards and gave it out were actually dismissed for having done so. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. Again, I think it's a particularly poignant point to go, Tom Cruise, when you were pushing and promoting this Scientology program, you were like, we got to do something for the rescue workers. We got to do something for the rescue workers. We got to do it now, now, now. Where the hell are you now, Tom? Where are you now? I mean, my God. So for all the infatuation that Scientology and Scientologists have for good public relations, you would think the easiest thing for Tom to do to generate good public relations would be to be one of these celebrities that are advocating for the 9/11 rescue workers. In my opinion, the reason why he doesn't is because it would call attention to the fact that his initial support of these workers was all wrapped up in a Scientology recruitment scheme. And by the way, because it's a Scientology program, a vast majority of the money raised for this project end up going to Scientologists because, of course, it was Scientologists who were staffing this thing. So maybe that's the reason why Tom Cruise isn't doing anything for the rescue workers. That's just my guess. All right, let's see, guys. A few quick super chats, and we will call this a wrap. 1010, it seems all letters are from the same writer. Well, it's funny. Some letters have these really crazy typos and missing words and sentence construction problems, and some of them don't. So I don't think they were all written by the same person or even written by Scientology. But I do know what you mean. I think they all hit on the same points. I think they were given bullet points of things to mention in the letters, is my guess. Okay, what is this? Duffsta Rhymes. True crime loser has just done a video. Scientology is about to collapse. Thanks, SPTV, for all you've done to bring these guys down and help the lucky ones who managed to leave in one piece. Well, I'll check that out, Duffsta Rhymes. Thank you very much. Okay, we have Loro Imperial. Do you think Danny Masterson will be released on parole 30 years from now, or does he deserve more time in prison, assuming no more convictions? I guess it depends on, well, first of all, his behavior in prison. I don't know, 30 years is an awfully long time in prison. In some of my videos, when I've pointed out that his sentence wasn't 30 years, his sentence is life, eligible for parole after 30 years. When I was calling out that distinction that many people had reported it incorrectly, I wasn't necessarily saying that he should serve more than 30 years. 30 years is a long time to be in prison. I guess my personal feeling is that if he were to be paroled after 30 years, I mean, that would be okay with me. The guy's going to be 77 years old or something like that in 30 years. 30 years is a long, long time. So anyway, I'd be okay with 30 years. Destroying cults. Hey, Aaron, great job with these letters. When are you doing a live Q&A? It's a really good question. I haven't done a live Q&A in so long, and I was just thinking about it yesterday that I should. We have many questions about many topics, and we would like your input. Sometime in the next week, I will absolutely do one. How's that for an answer? And I'll schedule it enough in advance so that people know about it. I usually go live with like 3 minutes notice, but whenever I'm going to do it, when I do the next Q&A, I'll schedule it with enough time. Duffta Rhymes is back. Oh, I meant to say there is a Hubbard Academy of Personal Independence here in Edinburgh, Scotland. They recently had a huge refurb. Yes, the HAPI, HAPI. Yes, Scientology's presence in Scotland is very, very small. I think, is it Scotland or Ireland that they recently... It's Ireland that they recently tried to sort of slam dunk this big Scientology presence. And I think that was for a tax strategy called tax inversion that a lot of giant pharmaceutical companies use. Because I think there's basically, and in fact, you can fact check me on this, guys, but I think the corporate tax rate in Ireland is something close to zero. So a lot of giant pharmaceutical companies are relocating their headquarters to Ireland. Again, the whole scheme is called a tax inversion strategy, basically. And I think that's what Scientology is doing. I think, and I realize I'm talking about Ireland, not Scotland, but I think they're trying to make Scotland their headquarters for all the Scientology organizations that are in countries where Scientology doesn't have tax exemption. I remember back when this happened, I looked into it briefly, and that's kind of what I concluded. But I haven't looked deeply into it recently, but yeah, don't worry. There's not some huge Scientology resurgence going on in Scotland. If anything, they're just trying to make it look like there is, kind of like what they're doing everywhere else in the world. There's no place in the world where Scientology is actually growing. They just make it look like it's growing by buying and renovating these giant buildings, but those buildings are basically empty. And not only do they have these new giant empty buildings, but now it oftentimes costs more to heat and cool those buildings than those organizations even make in a week or a month. So honestly, it's making things even more difficult for the Scientologists that are still there, believe it or not. All right, everybody, that is all I have on this. I really think I do want to do more videos today, but I'm trying to get it all done before 7 o'clock. So we'll see, guys. Stay tuned for more. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Thank you, as always, to everybody who watches until the very end, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, oh, dancing for my love, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.